Hi guys, this is my first video in a long series I want to make on how to survive the economic collapse. And in this series I don't want to give you the typical run-of-the-mill information and just show you little things I bought, what I think would be a good idea. I really want to go in depth with you on many great techniques that I think could be used during an economic collapse. But the first thing I want to cover is the types of collapses that I really feel could happen. And the first one would be a Great Depression type scenario where people are just really poor and high unemployment and people are really ticked off of the government, maybe a little hunger going on. The second one is what I feel Ron Paul thinks is going to happen, and I think as well, which is going to be massive chaos, civil unrest, political unrest, and highly probable martial law might be coming to America. So that's the scenario that I'm mostly going to be talking about. And the third type of scenario, which I don't really give much credence to, some people think it's going to happen, is a complete apocalyptical type scenario. I just don't see us all jumping into the book of Eli, running around like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I don't know. I just don't see it happening that way. I see the martial law scenario as the most likely scenario that's going to happen. And the most important thing in a scenario like that, or any scenario for that matter, would be to prepare yourself mentally. And I'm saying this because all the preparations you could possibly make will do you no good if you're not right in your own mind. Because if you go into shock when this thing happens, and people will be going into shock, if the dollar collapses, which I really think it will, people are going to go into shock. Now, if you've never been in shock before, let me give you a visual of what it's like. The movie Saving Private Ryan, where everything goes quiet around him at that beginning battle scene, and people are dying and bullets are flying, and he just is real disoriented. That's what shock is like. I've been in shock before when I saw my friend get killed on a motorcycle, and it's not a very good feeling whatsoever, and it leaves you extremely confused and just, you don't really know what to do. If something like the dollar collapse happens and there's no food in the stores, people are going to be really panicking and going into shock. So you got to realize that it's going to happen, and all these people that are sitting here going, well, I just had to take a break for a while. I couldn't listen to the information anymore. I had to have a break. It was driving me crazy. They're the people who are just denying the truth to themselves. They're suffering from like delayed cognitive dissonance. They're just ignoring it for a little while. You can't take a break from an economic collapse. When the collapse happens, you will not be able to get away from it. There is no break. So you got to start now. You got to prepare yourself mentally for this thing. You need to be able to gather your senses very quickly when the economy collapses. You don't have days and days to sit there in shock wondering what you're going to do. You have to be quick on your feet, and you have to think very quickly on how you're going to react in whatever scenario the economic collapse unfolds on us with. If there's martial law, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if there's just no food at the store? What are you going to do if your neighbors are rioting and stealing from each other? Which kind of reminds me, you want to make a detailed list of the things you want to do in these circumstances, because if you do suffer from shock somewhat, even if you mentally prepared yourself, it can still happen. You want to know that you can reference lists of what you'll do in each kind of scenario. For instance, one of the scenarios, if there's martial law and there's weapons confiscation and this country's really turned upside down on its head, my family has one escape route plan where we have 2 adult-sized go-karts, double-seaters, and we're just going to load them up, take them down some abandoned railroad tracks to an undisclosed location. That's just one of our escape routes. I don't mind sharing it with you. And I think it's important to have things like that on your list, what you're going to bring with you, what you're going to take with you, and what you need to do in a scenario like that. That way you don't have to have doubt that you're forgetting something. And that's why I somewhat discourage things like bug-out bags, because I don't see people just grabbing a backpack and going. I think people are going to grab their backpack and then go, what did I forget? Oh hell, what did I forget? I really think that's going to happen with just a bug-out bag. But if you have a list and you can throw things together very quickly, I feel that that'll bring you a lot more comfort that you got everything, especially if you made it in a calm moment. And you want to practice whatever your plans are during the economic collapse. For instance, I have 2 pellet guns with scopes on them. And with my sons, we're going outside and they're kind of pointing them at the birds, getting the birds in the sight just where they could kill the bird if we had to eat it, like if there's a depression type scenario. And then we just go down and shoot a target with a bird painted on it, and so that we don't just kill little birds all the time. And I think this is mentally preparing them if they really had to go out there and plink birds down in our suburban neighborhood in order to gather food, because they're silent and they could easily gather food that way. And I don't think my boys would have a problem doing it. And one of them's 8 years old and one of them's 5 years old, and I think that they could both probably, especially the 8-year-old, could get a crow at maybe about 75 yards with the pellet gun. So I think it's real important to practice these types of things. Also, just every now and then I practice military type crawling and running while squatting with my sons. And this is in case there is mass rioting or looting going on, and you have to get around and before martial law is taken in on the country. So I think that's really important. And most of all, in order to prepare yourself mentally, I think it's important that, and others around you, prepare them mentally as well, to support and promote the videos done by people who are talking about the economy. And I think one of the best on YouTube is Vision Victory, and I have a lot of respect for George Vertitle, Inflation US, and Demcad. I think they're all excellent commentators on the economy. And these types of people, I'm asking you as a favor to rate their videos, give them 5 stars, subscribe to them, and promote their videos. Share it with other people. Share these things with your relatives, and that'll give them higher ranking up on YouTube, and people are more likely to find them on YouTube. If the more people that we can give this information to, even if they hate you for giving it to them, the better I think this thing could unfold, because people will be getting ready for this thing. So anyway, my first tip is prepare yourself mentally. Be prepared to go into shock and have lots of good detailed plans and lists drawn up and made out so that you know exactly what to do the moment the economy collapses. I really think it's going to be a faster collapse, more so than the death by 10,000 paper cuts. That changes in my mind from time to time, but the way it's just kind of the stock market's been in stasis mode, I really could just see it crashing overnight. So anyway, take care. I'll be back with another tip next time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.